Hey, good beer people. Today we've got a great show for you. We're going to go visit Jester King Brewery out of Austin, Texas, and we're going to try their Noble King. Stick around and enjoy it with us.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hopped Up Beer Review, the show where we give you our professional and some unbiased opinion about the beer that we're drinking and reviewing. We're back to do that once again. There's Andy in the attic. There's Jay. I'm Ben. What are we drinking tonight, gentlemen?
The Noble King out of Jester King Brewery. Ben is zoomed in, and Andy is very concerned. He has it in a Ziploc.
Didn't know when it was about to blow because you're about to see.
There were maybe some transportation issues on this, but it has arrived. I will say mine is highly carbonated and flowing itself.
Well, upon researching this beer, I read about one incident they had to recall one beer because it was overcarbonated because they were exploding.
Yes.
So
it may take a minute to calm down.
I'm gonna have to take some prophylactic measures. All right.
Well, it makes our logo show up so nicely.
It does, actually. That's very fitting. All right, Andy, let's see what you got.
Slow, Andrew.
Slow and steady wins the race. Be the tortoise.
Very anticlimactic.
And I am glad of that. Although it's not. Top isn't pushing. What do we do? Oh my goodness.
Don't cut yourself, please.
No, that'd be tragic. What do you do with this? It's got like a seam.
Do you have a bottle opener? No, that'll
man.
take forever.
We'll be right back after this short break. And we're back. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Noble King. They describe it as a hoppy farmhouse ale. It's unspiced farmhouse with organic noble hops and fermented with wild yeasts from the Texas Hill Country. It's unfiltered, unpasteurized, and naturally conditioned.
As you can see, you can't really see through the glass.
Very unfiltered. It is haze for days. That's about it on the beer. They did not go into great detail. As I recall, I couldn't find much about it. But when I talk about the brewery, you'll understand more about this beer. Jester King Brewery is right on the outskirts of Austin, Texas. It is a microbrewery founded in 2010 that specializes in beer fermented with wild yeast. As mentioned, it's on a 40-acre ranch, as you said, Jay. It was founded by a former baker and a lawyer. And reading more about it, I was very happy to read this. In 2011, they won a lawsuit against the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission that had prohibited beverages with ABV greater than 4% from being labeled beer. Yeah.
What would they be labeled?
not beer. So I didn't go into the full details of that, but I was
Alcohol?
like, yeah,
Malt,
for us.
malted liquor.
Could be malt
That's where
liquor,
you
yeah.
used to see malt liquor.
Yeah. The name,
And thus they
Jester
would have to
King.
pay different taxes
Mhm.
because it's liquor versus beer.
Gotcha.
The name Jester King is after King Lear, the Shakespeare play, specifically the character of the fool. And it also symbolizes playful, experimental, and artistic spirit in their brewing process. As I said, they focus on farmhouse brewing, using local ingredients and wild yeast and bacteria culture captured from the land. I watched, they had an embedded video on their website. It's pretty interesting. It's a cool place. It's very rustic out there. They have a goat farm also there. I think they said they had 60 something goats. So they have full-time staff just for the goats. And then they got the brewers.
That's pretty
And
cool.
they also hire somebody, I don't know if it's full-time, but for their can art. If you've seen some Jester Kings, they've got some pretty unique and pretty cool labels.
Thus it's the Nobel King here.
Their cooling tank, it's this open vat, shallow. It's not like a big tank. It's, maybe no more than 2 feet high sides, is where they put the beer in, and then they open the doors to the outside, these big barn looking doors, to let the wild yeast just come in, everything that's in the air, and to naturally ferment. And most things in their bottles, everything they bottle is goes under a second fermentation.
So Andy, in the
Cool.
depiction on the can art that we have, and as Ben has down below, would that be a depiction of one of the vats with the lion inside of that?
Are you talking that barrel?
Yeah, a barrel vat. I mean,
No. I think that's just
I'm
the Jester
curious with the
Kings.
three little. I mean, it's been a while
I
since
see
I've
what you're
had some
saying.
other Jester Kings.
You're looking down on it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Not the
yeah.
barrel, but almost like you're standing over the.
Oh,
You're
that red
standing
ring,
over
or that
the
golden ring around
gold,
it.
Yeah.
the
No,
golden ring. Yeah,
that isn't for that. Their cooling tank are open like big rectangles. They're very big rectangular. I couldn't figure out the symbolism of the lion and all. So I mean, noble and royalties, things like that, is what lions have been symbols of. So,
but they do have great can art. Some of the other ones that
mhm.
we've shared back and forth. I don't. Yeah, I think this is the first Jester King we've reviewed, but
This
I think
is
we've all had
our
some. Is it?
yeah. This
No,
is
it
our
was our.
first.
Yeah.
It's our
Okay.
first Jester King is on a review.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
talking about sharing back and forth. I don't think I've ever had Jester King. So
I think Andy might have.
yeah.
I have. I'm looking up which one.
It would have been something like a double IPA you wouldn't have liked.
I mean, Ben, you've had every opportunity when we are at a bottle shop together, beer store, to pick up the Jester Kings. I've had the Witchmaker.
Yeah, the Witchmaker is really
That's
cool in
their
that
rye
purple can.
IPA.
Yeah. I think you got that when you were actually here, if I'm not mistaken. Or at Hop City.
One of the two. I saw it a couple times, and I finally decided to pick it up. Primarily, the rye IPA. The can art drew me into it, but then seeing that it was a rye IPA.
Right. And fortunately, North Alabama's, we started getting Jester King probably a year and a half ago. So we've been very, like I said, fortunate to get that in this area because they do really good beer.
All right. So does that mean, Jay, you've had this before?
Yes, sir, I have.
All right. I figured as much. I'll jump in and go first. So, first couple sips for this one on me, it was a little bit too grassy, earthy. Just that just it's a little. It reminded me a lot of the uh, that Thai spice that we had without the spice. Just kind of that almost root type flavor. So that
Like
was
a
kind of one.
lemongrass or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of calmed down a little bit as I've had a few more sips. But the first couple of sips for me were not, necessarily my favorite. Because it's just not my favorite type of flavoring in a beer. Um, so I think it's calmed down a little bit, and I think it's fine. It's one I would drink again if you handed it to me, but it's not one I'm going to seek out. I love the can art. Like, I would go buy a sign to hang up here in the bar. But I think that may be the best part of the beer for me personally. I mean, again, I'll drink it if you hand it to me. I'm going to give it a 6.5 just because of the grass flavoring that it has going on for me. Andy, what do you think?
I completely understand where you're coming from. I will mention this. Jay, you and I did share a Jester King last year when we were at your place. Cold Drip or Ice Grip. Ice Grip. It's a cold IPA.
Oh, yeah.
Try another one. But Ben, those first couple sips were a little shocking. I found Farmhouse ales to be hit and miss, and they really made this one hoppy, a little, and a bitter. But then after several sips, it mellows out. It is pretty herbal tasting, and it leaves that grassy, earthy taste lingering a little bit, more so than like a hoppy bitterness. It is more grassy, herbal lingering. I appreciate what they do and how they go about making their beers so unique, and how if they do a beer with the open fermentation, let all the wild yeast in, you're not always going to get, and they've claimed they're not going to make the same beer every time in that manner. That said, based on my appreciation of what they do, I'll give it a better score, just like a 7.0. And it's not something that I'm just going to turn my nose up at, but it's definitely one and done.
All right, Jay.
Yeah, I appreciate the description and the history, Andy. I did not realize all of that about how they brew their beer, but it makes sense when I hear that. I might have read it on one of the bottles. They actually had a series of these Noble King, the Witchcraft, and several others that they had in large bomber-sized bottles that I could get for like, I don't know, they were like $8 to $12. They weren't really that expensive. And so that was kind of neat to try those that way for a while. Now they've gone back to their more traditional cans. And out of the Jester King, I just happened to look up how many I'd had. I probably had close to a dozen or so of their different beers. They've got a lot of beers, obviously. But the reason I think I picked this one was it was their third most popular beer. And third most rated online, so that we could get a little wider distribution. But to me, it's out of the dozen or so I've had, it's one of the lower ranking ones I've had. So hearing the description of how they do things, that obviously makes it better understood, and the fact that it could vary from one batch to the other. The stuff that I had in the bottle 2 years ago could be completely different than this, and I agree. I mean, it's got a lot of those earthy tones, especially the first sip or two. It calms down. And it's very hazy, and it tastes like a farmhouse. So not always one of my favorite styles, but I'm right there with you, Andy. It's a 7. It's not one that I typically seek out when I go to the store. I see it there on the shelves, but I wanted us to get a little more variety. And since we hadn't actually reviewed a Jester King, I thought this would be a good one since it had a lot of ratings and online.
I do like the variety, and I've failed to mention it's dry. Yeah,
good point.
Dry finish. Yeah.
So I definitely, I really, I think the process is really, really cool that they, just open up the doors. I wonder if this is somewhat like, they say get regional honey, and that helps with like your allergies and stuff. Do you think this would have any translation? Huh?
Probably
Help with allergies to the area.
Yeah.
If
Like
you
if you live in
in
the
Texas,
area.
yeah.
Probably
maybe some truth to that.
Trying to find good reasons to support our habit here.
We don't need a reason. Just drink as we want to. That's a reason. I want to drink and review beer.
What was the other one that did that, Andy? Is it Omagong?
Mm-hmm.
Or OEC? OEC.
OEC, yeah.
That's the open
for a little
fermenting.
ranch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're up in the Northeast, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. I think Connecticut region.
That will be a 6.8 for the Noble King from Jester King out of Austin, Texas. Definitely a beer that if you've had, be interested to know what you think on this one, especially given that they are not always the same batch as we discussed. So let us know what you think. Leave us a comment down below, or you can come say hey on our Discord server. It's a chat room where we chat about beer and some other things, and we'd love to see you there if you haven't joined us already. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, and cheers that notification bell. It says Wild Yeast. And we would definitely appreciate that as well. And we've got a link down below for some Hopped Up Beer Review merch also. So check out that along with the other links below. With that, for Jay, Andy in the attic, I am Ben. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
And I will say 5 minutes of it was waiting on